This is TheWrap's 2017 South by Southwest interview studio at the Plexus Lodge in Austin. We're thrilled to welcome the star and director of Daphne. We have Emily Beecham, Peter Mackie-Burns.
Hello.
Congrats, you guys. I am probably rude to say, but it's one of my favorite films in the festival. Don't tell anybody else, I guess. And if you just want to tell us a little bit, it's sort of a character study about a young chef in London, or aspiring chef in London, and just sort of tell us a bit about who she is and how she came to you.
Yeah, she's. We wanted to make a film about a character who we thought we would brush up against every day. Mm-hmm. You know, it's next on the tube. You know, be served by. So we tried to make a three-dimensional character. A young woman living in London, dealing with the difficulties of living in a big city that's, you know, slightly difficult to live in at times.
Sure. And there is, so sort of the rising action in the film is that she is sort of a detached, very cheeky, not to use the word that Americans think British people use all the time, but you know, sort of like a looser party kind of girl, maybe has some family issues, but she does witness a horrible crime. A convenience store worker gets stabbed, and she sort of thinks that she has this like listless reaction to it, and that sets off a bunch of terrible internal questions. I said before you sat down, I really related to this character, and I'm like, what? I feel nervous saying that. But tell me just about sort of getting into the mentality of someone who might not behave the way that people think women should in public spaces.
Well, I recognize a lot of parts of Daphne, and you know, so many people I know, and myself, and yeah, I think she's a very realistic reflection of, you know, a young woman in the city, and and she uses her humor. She uses a lot of deflection, and she doesn't really like to face much, or her, you know, perhaps things that make her nervous, or you know, or the serious things. She likes to use humor a lot to deflect. And that doesn't really work when she has to sort of start those existential kind of questions.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's about how well it goes for her.
No. Yeah.
I don't know how deeply you, as in the writing process and in sort of building the character, do you get into a lot of like, does she have trauma, you know, abuse, self-esteem, all that kind of stuff? Like, how much of it informs that? Or is it just like, sometimes people don't GAF?
Not a conscious thing.
I think we spent a couple of years making the character. Mm-hmm. So we both liked the English director Mike Leigh very much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we thought it'd be really good if we could rip off his method of working. So we spend a long time doing character.
Right.
Long time doing character. And we thought, well, wouldn't it be nice to have someone who uses humor as a weapon to help them through their everyday existence, you know? And this incident that she witnesses causes a little chink in her armor, you know? And the film is really about the coming to terms of, you know, her life at this point. Right. Because she's too cool for school, but slightly too old to be too cool for school.
I think the way that the film sort of leaves off is that you don't know that there's a self-awareness, but I think maybe that's half the battle. Maybe she'll never change, but at least she recognizes that sort of thing. I mean, are you comfortable with those sort of ambiguous endings?
I think it's a very, it's realism kind of style. I mean, there's no, it's not so clear, and I think that's where it's quite unique. It's kind of different. I like that kind of not knowing that.
We love the producer Valentina and myself, and the writer Nick. We like Mike Leigh and we like Cassavetes very much. Yeah. So character-based, you know, dramas, quite complex characters. So for me, I think cinema and the movie is about asking questions, you know. And we thought, what's an interesting question? How do you live now if you're a 31-year-old woman?
You had some interesting reactions to the film. We were sort of talking about, like, didn't you say some people are not really?
Yeah. I was talking about my friend Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who wrote Fleabag, and saying how she had kind of a similar reaction, like somebody who was like, oh, like, you know, what an offensive character, and seemed really irritated by the character, and then other people really connect to her. So those characters. So
And she was playing herself, wasn't she?
who?
Phoebe.
No.
No, of course she wasn't.
Well, I'll
No,
leave
no,
that to
no,
her
no,
to
no, no, no.
say.
Well, I feel like, like her or don't, I just hope everyone sees this. And I just say congratulations. Thank you so much
Thank
for coming.
you.
Thank you so much.